Princess Daisy made a surprise appearance in the post-credits of Super Mario Galaxy, so it's almost certain that she's going to be very important in the plumber's next movie. But can you imagine all the incredible things involving Daisy that could happen in this production? Sister. Super Mario Galaxy put a big focus on Peach's past, with the revelation that she is the long-lost sister of Princess Rosalina, who hid her in the Mushroom Kingdom because many ill-intentioned people want to kidnap them due to their cosmic powers. But what if there's a third lost sister in this story, and it's Daisy? Since Peach and Rosalina reunited at the end of the movie, the news must have spread across the entire universe, and maybe that was the moment Daisy found out where her sisters had been all this time. She may not have appeared in the flashback where Rosalina and Peach were children, but that was a product of Peach's incomplete memory. It's likely that, in the real version of events, Daisy was there too, and Rosalina hid her in another kingdom, more specifically, the kingdom of Sarasaland, where Daisy became a princess, while Peach became the princess of the Mushroom Kingdom. Pretty impressive, right? But this is just the beginning, because we're going to tell you everything about Princess Daisy in Super Mario 3. So grab your popcorn and get comfy on the couch. Another Cinewave is starting. Tatanga. We have reasons to believe that the villain of the next Mario movie will also have a connection to Daisy's story, especially if the goal is to explore even more of Peach and Rosalina's past. Believe it or not, there is a villain who could tie all of this together, even if Daisy isn't actually their sister. This villain's name is Tatanga, and he was the main threat in the game Super Mario Land, where Daisy first appeared. In the story, Tatanga kidnaps her and takes over Sarasaland, Daisy's kingdom. That alone already makes it make sense for Tatanga to be the antagonist of a Mario movie connected to Daisy. But there's one extremely important detail. He's an alien. As we know, Rosalina and Peach's powers are desired by many villains across the universe. In the flashback that showed the two sisters separating, they were running from someone who had found them and wanted to kidnap them. What if that mysterious villain was actually Tatanga? The purple light that appears in the scene could be a hint of that, since he is associated with the color purple. His presence in the movie would perfectly connect the story of all the princesses. Best friend. For those who don't know, in the games, Daisy and Peach are best friends. In the movies, Peach never mentioned her best friend at any point, which makes us think they might not know each other yet here. But there are still chances that they are already best friends. At least that's what a deleted scene from the Super Mario Bros. Movie suggests. The concept art for this scene shows that it would be a flashback to when Peach and Bowser studied together. Bowser would ask her to be his date for the dance, but she would refuse and make fun of him. This scene was probably deleted so we wouldn't feel sorry for Bowser or angry at Peach, but one important detail is that Daisy would be in this scene, laughing at the King of the Koopas along with the others. In other words, at least in the original ideas for the first movie, Peach and Daisy would have been best friends since their school days. Even though this scene was deleted, there is still a possibility that they really studied together and were friends, but ended up following different paths after finishing high school. Rivals. Even though the two princesses are best friends in the games, Illumination has already shown multiple times that it's not afraid to adapt certain things differently in the Mario movies, making it very clear that the films take place in a different universe from the games. After all, Peach and Rosalina aren't even sisters in the games. So what if, in the movies, Daisy is Peach's rival? That would make a lot of sense, especially if this rivalry is political. They are both princesses of very different kingdoms. What if the Mushroom Kingdom and Sarasaland are enemies that have been at war for many years? That would be more than enough reason for the leaders of these kingdoms not to like each other. This rivalry could lead to some very funny arguments between them, but it would also be great if they eventually started respecting their differences and then became the best friends they are in the games. But tell us, are you also really excited to see Daisy in the next Mario movie? If so, comment down below #Daisy.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Holy!
Wario. Speaking of rivalry, this reminds us of Wario and Waluigi, who are basically evil versions of Mario and Luigi. They have a strong rivalry with the brothers, and many people believe it would make sense to see them in Super Mario 3. We're taking it even further. Not only would it make a lot of sense, but it's possible they might have some connection to Princess Daisy in this version. After all, if the Kingdom of Sarasaland is truly adapted as an enemy of the Mushroom Kingdom, it would make sense if Wario and Waluigi worked for Sarasaland, just like Mario and Luigi are the heroes of the Mushroom Kingdom. In that case, Daisy would represent a darker version of Peach, even if she isn't actually evil, but simply someone with different goals. This makes even more sense when we go back to the games and remember that Nintendo once created an evil version of Peach meant to accompany Wario and Waluigi, and her name would have been Wa-Peach. But Wa-Peach never made it into the games. She was supposed to be introduced in Mario Tennis, but was ultimately replaced by Daisy. Misunderstanding. In fact, we can't even rule out the possibility that Daisy might actually start off more like a villain in this movie. But if that happens, it won't be out of pure malice, but rather due to some kind of misunderstanding. If Sarasaland and the Mushroom Kingdom are truly enemy nations, it would be easy for a villain to commit a crime in Daisy's kingdom and shift all the blame onto Mario's group. That would lead her to want to start a new war against the Mushroom Kingdom. Of course, eventually Daisy would discover the truth and join Mario, Peach, and Luigi to fight the real villain behind it all. It would be an amazing way to introduce Daisy into the Mario cinematic universe and show that every story has at least two sides. Besides, who doesn't love seeing sworn enemies become allies? Daisy's father. Tatanga would be a great villain for this movie, but maybe Illumination is preparing a surprise for us and will make the main antagonist Daisy's own father. He has already appeared in the Super Mario manga and also in the 1993 live-action movie, as well as being mentioned in the games. In other words, this character really exists and is the king of Sarasaland. Now imagine if, out of all the characters, Super Mario 3 decides to adapt him, but as a villain who wants to destroy the Mushroom Kingdom once and for all. It would be even more interesting if, all this time, he had been manipulating Daisy into believing that Mario and the other heroes of the Mushroom Kingdom are evil. Princess Daisy would be placed in a major dilemma, because she would have to choose between her father and the true heroes of the story. Even though it's a difficult decision, we like to imagine that Daisy will make the right choice and put her father in prison to pay for his crimes, while she takes his place as the leader of Sarasaland. The difference is that she will be a fair princess, and instead of wanting war, she will seek peace with the Mushroom Kingdom. Romance. We could never ignore something very important about Daisy. She and Luigi are often seen as a couple. Even though they don't officially date in the games, the two have a dynamic similar to Mario and Peach, where they function as a duo. And of course, many fans want them to finally end up together. Illumination is developing a very obvious romance between Mario and Peach in the movies, so it's only natural to expect Daisy and Luigi to fall in love as well. They represent that classic idea that opposites attract. While Luigi is timid and quiet, Daisy is bold and energetic. So you can bet that this next movie will put a strong focus on their relationship. The subscribe button is right there, waiting for you. How about clicking and keeping up with everything we post? Destroyed reputation. We talked about the idea of Daisy believing that the Mushroom Kingdom was responsible for a serious crime. But what if it's the opposite, and Daisy ends up being wrongly blamed for a crime she didn't commit? That way, she would become a criminal hunted by Mario and Luigi, at least until they realize she's innocent. It would be a very different way to introduce a princess. They are usually hostages of villains, or at the very least, heroines. But a princess who is a fugitive criminal? Everyone would be caught off guard, but we would also feel relieved when we found out she was framed by the real villain. We bet Luigi would be the first to realize that Daisy isn't truly evil, and that's where their romance would begin to grow. Another planet. Super Mario Galaxy already explored the galactic side of Mario's universe, but that's far from meaning the space theme won't be explored again, especially if Tatanga is the villain of Super Mario 3. After all, there's a strong chance that Daisy herself lives on another planet. Yes, it's entirely possible that the Kingdom of Sarasaland will be adapted as another world instead of just another country. And the main reason we believe this is that in the post-credits of Super Mario Galaxy, Daisy appears in the Gateway Galaxy, a meeting point for beings from all across the universe. She could have come from literally any planet, but since Daisy will be in Super Mario 3, it's reasonable to assume she's heading toward the Mushroom Kingdom. If the Princess of Sarasaland lived on the same planet as Mario and Peach, then she wouldn't even need to go to the Gateway Galaxy to get there. Sarasaland destroyed. Super Mario Galaxy introduced threats far greater than the first adventure of our favorite plumbers, with Bowser Jr. trying to use Rosalina's powers to turn his father's kingdom into a universal-scale threat, so the stakes are likely to get even higher in Super Mario 3. And what better way to do that than by starting the movie with an entire kingdom being completely destroyed? That's exactly what could happen to Sarasaland. If that's the motivation for Daisy to go seek help from Mario's group, everyone will immediately know that the threat is far more serious than before. before. It gets even worse if Sarasaland is actually on another planet, and that planet is completely destroyed along with the kingdom. That's something only a truly powerful and malevolent enemy would be capable of doing. A challenge worthy of a third Mario movie, don't you think? The fun doesn't stop here. There are 2 amazing videos waiting for you on the screen. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.